This is Jeff Pierce, and you are listening to Me, Myself, and I Radio.
Good morning, good afternoon, hip hip hooray. This is Me, Myself, and I Radio, a self-discovery podcast. It's all about being extraordinary under extraordinary circumstances. I'm your host, Anthony Hayes. Welcome to the journey called life. Let's go.
Sometimes in life, things can come across as rather odd or often peculiar, a little like the way that you decide to tune into other radio stations other than ours.
So hard last night, my lids are swollen. Got my guitar, gotta get to a studio. Got a track and I think it's gonna hit, yo. It's been so many years and there's been so many tears, and it's gonna be well worth the pain, see, when all my people line up to see me. Cause I got no money, got no home.
Good morning, good afternoon, hip hip hooray, me, myself, and our radio tribe. We have another Podcast Discovery Center All-Star on the line today, host of Sports Wealth Radio and best-selling author of Building Champions, 7 Success Principles for Youth Sports and the Game of Life. He's also a speaker and mental performance coach. Today is going to be an awesome conversation. I already know it. Jeff Pierce, are you ready to get into Me, Myself, and I?
Let's rock it.
Jeff's got a podcast, kind of new in the game, which is awesome. I know we've been along for the process, and we've seen Jeff just grow his show and his listenership and his message and stuff. What's the podcast game been like for you? How have you liked this discovery experience so far?
Well, Anthony, as we all know, everything new venture we go through in life has its ups and downs, and it's all a learning curve. My very first episode was to be recording with a 4-time Olympian, and believe it or not, I lost internet that day based on a flying squirrel that got fried on an electrical transformer. So,
oh my goodness,
that's how my journey started. But it's no different than life and self-discovery. You have to learn what you have to do to get down deep inside yourself to grow. And I certainly wasn't going to let a squirrel knock out my podcast.
That is both a hilarious story and a terrible story at the same time. Because first of all, I've never heard anything like that before. As far as the comical sense, a flying squirrel losing his life is also a very tragic experience. But then on top of it, your internet went out, so you ended up re-recording the episode, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we didn't even get to push record. It was so funny. I was getting online, and I'd messaged the gentleman I was interviewing, and he was online, and all of a sudden I go and I'm waiting for Skype, and I use Skype, and I was waiting for Skype to load, and all of a sudden the lights in the house went dark, and my internet went out, and it was over, and about 8 hours later, close to midnight, I heard some trucks running down the road, and I went out, and being I've spent 40 years in the construction business and very familiar with the construction industry and infrastructure. And so I went out and had a friendly chat with these guys from the electric company. And the guy says, here, I'll show you the culprit. He actually showed me
oh my goodness.
It was quite an interesting start of my podcast journey.
That is a great story, Jeff. Probably the most unique one I've ever heard. So that's totally cool. And thank you for sharing that. Yeah, podcasting has been, just like you said, it's one of those things I think you only get better at with time. Every single time I turn on the microphone, it's a new experience. You're talking to a new person, or you're picking a new topic to delve into. And it's, I know it's helped me a lot, like in my personal life, and well, soon to be professional life here with the launch of my book. Now, being an author is an exciting thing. I know you are. So, first of all, how long have you been writing? And then also, what was that? That's a huge self-discovery experience in itself. And, you have to really
my writing
dialed in and do that.
My writing experience came from, self-discovery in essence. I won't get into the whole story, but as you and I have talked offline, I've been a wrestler, in school. I coached youth wrestling for years and years and years, and got frustrated with seeing the kids and parents, frustrated with sports. And it come a time that I finally said, we have to understand kids are kids. They're in sports to have fun. And so I had a coach at a tournament one day that was, raising Cain about his kids and his parents. And it was so disheartening because he actually grabbed his own son by the back of his neck and threw him off the mat, which, to me, being a father and a grandfather, I wanted to go over and give the guy a piece of my mind, but it kept my cool. The guy actually come around to a few of us coaches and, during a break, and he was complaining and bitching. And I said, be honest with you, let me ask you, when was the last time you stepped in that circle? And he says, I've never wrestled. And I said, well, here's the point. Till you face the same fear and know what it takes to get from within yourself what you need to survive on that mat, you have no right in belittling and be judging your kids. So I told him point blank, there's an old timers tournament. I'll tell you what, I'll be there to see if you got the guts to show up and step on that mat.
Wow.
So I had to do some self-discovery myself that day, because I went home and my wife naturally asked how the tournament went. And unfortunately, she didn't go that day for some reason. And she's normally always at my grandson's tournaments. And I said, my buddy. And she says, yeah, what transpired? So I told her, I opened my mouth and said something about stepping foot on a mat. And I says, I guess I better show up at that tournament, and maybe I should be getting back on the mat. Now, keep in mind, here's a guy about to turn 50 years old, never had a winning record, hadn't wrestled in 34 years, but I figured that if I could get myself mentally strong and get myself in top cardio condition, those were two aspects that were going to allow me to survive on that mat. So that's what I worked on. I had 2.5, 3 months. I worked on those two things. It's tough at 50 years old to find somebody to go practice with. And so I had a rematch of David versus Goliath. Me being David at 50, 2 days after my 50th birthday. And I ended up wrestling a 28-year-old Marine with arms the size of my legs. And why I tell this story is because I don't care, no matter what we do in life, everything is a journey. It's self-discovery of pushing yourself to get to that next level. And I did this to help me become better at helping my athletes and parents understand it doesn't matter what the score on that scoreboard is. It's going out there and doing your best and having fun and enjoy the journey.
That's so cool.
So what came of that is that for 2 weeks or so, I had people ask me, Jeff, why'd you do it? And how'd you do it? And I knew my why, but I really couldn't understand the how, other than I knew I worked on my cardio and I did work on my mental game, but there had to be something else. How could I go do something as extreme as that But yeah, I had run a very successful business for close to 10 years, and all of a sudden I lost everything. What happened? I was missing some common denominators of success. So I started looking.
Okay, so not to cut you off, but so you were equating this experience with stepping on the mat for the first time in a long time and wrestling to your business career. Is that correct?
Correct.
That crossed over. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So what I got looking at is what's the common denominators between success in life and success in sports? Because every athlete 99% of athletes start participating in a sport at a youth age. Okay. Sure. And what are the tools? What are the habits? What are the things that can be learned through youth sports that can be victorious in the game of life? Okay.
Cool. I love that.
Being that there's only a very, very small percentage, okay, and depending on what sport it is, it's actually from 1% to 4% of youth athletes that will ever get to the collegiate or professional level. What can be learned through youth sports that can help them when those days of playing games, the fun aspects of youth sports are done and over with? And that set me on that journey. So for 4 years, 5 years, that's all I did. I was going to events, personal development events. I was reading book after book after book. I read more books in 1 year than I did in 50 years. And so, I ended up with a lot of books with a lot of dog-eared pages, a lot of highlighting.
Oh, yeah. I do the same thing, man.
And I ended up on top of that with about 8 to 10 yellow pads full of notes that I had taken. And just as a joke one day, I said to my wife, I says, you know what? I have so many notes. I have so much history here in all these books. Maybe I should write a book. And her comment was naturally, Jeff, you had problems passing high school, getting through high school. How are you going to write a book?
Oh,
so I turned around and said,
poor guy.
That's what they got spell check for,
Yeah, there you go.
So my journey writing a book, my first time through was I just took what I learned, put it in paper, put it to print, did some self-discovery in regards to my own journey, but then I had to research the self-publishing, the cost of marketing a book, all that good stuff. And I just decided I'm going to self-publish a book.
Hey, Tribe, I hope you guys have really been soaking in this wisdom that Jeff has been giving to us so far. Tune in next week. I know you're subscribed to the show to hear the other half of this awesome conversation, because Jeff just really gets what self-discovery is all about. And if you get a chance, head on over to memyselfandradio.com, because I'm proud to announce that my book, The Science of Being, Surviving Depression, is finally here. I think you're really going to enjoy it. And as always, at the end of every show, I'd like to urge you, no matter what the rest of your day brings, control the controllable. As for the rest, keep on flowing. And just be. This has been me, myself, and I. See you next week.